Let me start by saying I never imagined my life would take a turn like this. I've always considered myself a private person, someone who values boundaries, silence, and above all, respect, especially in my own home. That space has always been my sanctuary, my place to exhale and be at peace. So when I married Mark 5 years ago and became a stepmother to his teenage son, Kyle, I made it my personal mission to build a home that was warm, safe, and respectful. I didn't want to be a cliché, the evil stepmother, the overbearing woman trying to replace his real mom. I just wanted harmony. Kyle was 17 when I married Mark. His mother had moved overseas when he was about 10 and kept contact to a minimum, no holidays, no phone calls, barely any mail. Mark did his best raising Kyle alone, and when I came into the picture, I naturally stepped into more of a caregiver role than I ever expected. At first, it was awkward. Kyle was reserved, withdrawn, and rarely said more than a few words to me unless absolutely necessary. I didn't take it personally. He was a teenage boy after all. I figured he just needed space and time. Maybe I gave him too much of both. Kyle is 22 now. He still lives with us while finishing up college. He works part-time at a tech store, spends long hours in his room, and mostly keeps to himself. He's not the kind of kid who throws parties or causes scenes. In fact, I always thought of him as quiet, a little nerdy, even sweet in his own awkward way. But a few months ago, something shifted. It started with things so small, I almost didn't notice. I'd come out of the bathroom after a shower and feel something like someone had just moved from the hallway. No sounds, just a lingering energy, like a shadow in the air. I'd dismiss it, telling myself I was being paranoid. Then came the creaks, barely audible sounds outside my bedroom door late at night, and the way my door never seemed shut the way I left it. Sometimes I'd find it slightly ajar when I was sure I had closed it tightly. One day, I came home from work early and went to change clothes. As I entered my bedroom, I saw the closet door was open just an inch, not wide, just enough. I always shut it completely. Always. I stood there frozen, heart pounding, staring at that narrow gap. I opened it slowly. Nothing was missing. Nothing seemed out of place. Still, something didn't feel right. My instincts were screaming at me, but I kept silencing them. Another day, I noticed a shirt was missing, one I had worn the day before and tossed into the laundry basket. I figured I must have tossed it in the washer without thinking, but later that evening, I checked the washer. It wasn't there. I asked Mark if he had done a load. He hadn't. The shirt never turned up. I felt like I was slowly losing my mind, second-guessing myself at every turn. Then came the flu. I was bedridden for 2 days with chills, a high fever, and no strength to do much more than sleep. On the second night, I was in a half-dream haze when I thought I saw movement near the door. My room was dimly lit by the orange glow of a salt lamp on my nightstand. I sat up, disoriented, but saw nothing. I chalked it up to fever dreams and exhaustion. The next morning, however, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My door was unlocked. I never leave it unlocked at night, especially when I'm sick. Something in my gut told me this wasn't just forgetfulness. That day, I ordered a motion-activated camera online. It looked like a regular phone charger, small, discreet, perfect. When it arrived, I plugged it into the outlet directly across from my bed. It blended in seamlessly. Mark didn't notice, and I didn't tell him. I didn't want to believe anything strange was happening, but I needed to know for 2 nights. Nothing happened, just normal footage, me sleeping, the occasional shift in the sheets, the house creaking. But on the third night, everything changed. I watched the footage the next morning with a hot cup of coffee in hand. It was around 1:45 a.m. in the recording. I was sound asleep, completely under the blanket. The room was still. Then, slowly, so slowly, the bedroom door opened. Kyle stepped inside, barefoot. Silent, he stood just inside the threshold, not moving. Just watching. He didn't speak, didn't come closer. He stood there for nearly 3 minutes, just staring. Then, without a word, he turned and left, closing the door behind him as quietly as he had entered. I felt the blood drain from my face. My fingers were trembling as I replayed it over and over. It was the middle of the day, and I was completely alone. Mark was at work. Kyle was in class. I felt sick. What did I just watch? Who was this person? I didn't confront him, not yet. I needed to be sure this wasn't some bizarre mistake, some unexplained lapse. I let the camera roll again. Over the next 4 nights, he entered my room 3 more times. Each time, he came in a little farther. The final night was the worst. I had just stepped into my walk-in closet to change clothes. I was in the middle of slipping into my pajamas when the motion alert went off. I didn't check my phone at the time, but the camera caught everything. Kyle entered while I was changing. He moved quietly, thinking I wasn't there. The footage caught him peeking around the corner, his expression blank. Then when he heard me moving he froze, and then as silently as he came in, he backed away and shut the door. That was it. That was the moment I knew this wasn't innocent. This wasn't sleepwalking. This wasn't forgetfulness or confusion. This was intentional. That night, I copied all the footage onto my laptop. When Mark came home from work, I asked him to sit down. We need to talk, I said. My voice flat and calm for what I was about to show him. I played the videos in order. One by one, Mark didn't speak. His face went pale. He sat with his hands locked together, elbows on his knees, staring at the screen like the air had been punched out of his lungs. Is this real? He whispered finally. Yes, I said. This has been happening for weeks. I didn't say anything until I had proof. He rubbed his face and sat back, silent. Then he said, I had no idea. I don't even know what to say. I want him out, I said, still calm. I want him out of this house. I want my safety back. Mark nodded slowly. That night, Mark called Kyle downstairs to the kitchen. I stayed upstairs, standing quietly in the hallway, out of sight but listening. Kyle, he said, his voice stern, we know what you've been doing. There was silence. We've seen the footage. A long pause. Then Kyle spoke. I didn't do anything. I was just checking on her. Mark's voice snapped. In the middle of the night. Watching her change. That's not checking. That's not normal. Kyle tried to deny it, then minimize it. Then, finally, his voice cracked and he said, I don't know why I did it. It wasn't supposed to be creepy. I was just curious. That word made my skin crawl. I walked downstairs then. I needed to see his face. I looked him straight in the eye and said, you don't get to be curious about my body or my privacy. That's not curiosity. That's a violation. He looked away, ashamed. But not nearly ashamed enough. We told him he had 2 weeks to move out. Mark offered to help him find a room near campus, help with the deposit, whatever it took. But he couldn't stay here, not after this. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. We barely spoke. I kept my door locked 24/7. I didn't sleep much. Mark and I fought not because I blamed him, but because the weight of what had happened sat heavy on both of us. Everything felt tainted. Kyle moved out quietly. No apology, no explanation. Just silence. I haven't seen him since. Mark and I are in therapy now, separately and together. He's trying. I can see it in the way he looks at me, in the way he holds me when I wake up from nightmares. I think we'll make it. But the healing is slow, and some nights I still wake up in a cold sweat, remembering the way Kyle stood in my doorway. Just stood there. Watching. I never imagined I would feel unsafe in my own home. Especially not because of someone I helped raise, someone I cooked for, laughed with, worried about, someone I trusted. So if you're reading this and your gut is telling you something's off, listen. Don't wait, don't second guess yourself the way I did, because the worst kind of betrayal isn't loud. It's silent. Asterisk, like a shadow standing just outside your door. Asterisk. If my friend, you want to see more such good and true love stories, then click on my love playlist. If you believe in ghosts, then you must watch my haunted playlist. If you like this video even a little bit, my friend, then please like the video and also subscribe to the channel.